So as many of you know, I'm a seminary student, and tonight we had to study about regeneration. Now, in my twisted way of thinking, what that translated to in my own mindset was, I bet there'll be donuts and coffee in hell. And let me explain the title of tonight's podcast so that it makes sense. First of all, I want to evaluate where we are from a church standpoint, right? So churches, in order to get people in, they do all kinds of things. You've got great music, you've got shortened services, you've got multiple service times, you've got coffee, donuts, childcare, kids programs. Don't get me wrong, I think all of these are great. But I think we've missed some points in that. And I think the biggest point that we're missing a lot of times is that regeneration, right? If there isn't a regeneration, if the old does not become new, then we still have lost individuals that are just enjoying donuts and coffee and a really nice show. There is a pastor friend of mine that has a congregation that has smoke and lights, and they got a great and awesome worship band. And I asked him one time, I said, do you think people would come if you met in a field? I visited one of the cowboy churches, and don't get me wrong, I'm not sold on the whole cowboy church thing, but one thing that I noticed is that they actually had people showing up in a field. Now, in that, they also had a theme, and around the rustic lifestyle, in the same aspect, would they show up in a city? I don't know. What we've got is we've got a group of individuals that what we've decided to do is that we've decided to cater to the people that we're trying to teach about God in such a way that we don't want to push them away or offend them. And it concerns me a little bit. As I begin to study about regeneration, I want to talk about that for just a minute and show you how that kind of applies. First, let me start and show you the difference between what we have today and what they had at that time. Because of the miracles of Jesus, because of the indwelling of the Holy Spirit in the disciples and the miracles that they were able to do, because of all the things done in Jesus' name, because of the preaching, the teaching, and the healing of the sick, people followed Jesus, right? If you look in John chapter 6, it begins with, after this, Jesus crossed over to the far side of the Sea of Galilee, also known as the Sea of Tiberias. A huge crowd kept following him wherever he went because they saw his miraculous signs as he healed the sick. Now let me stop right there. What you have is a group of people numbering 5,000. Scholars will tell you it probably didn't include women and kids, but let's say it just did. Let's say it was just an even 5,000. Let's say they lowballed it. Let's say they couldn't count. Let's say it was only 2,000 people. When was the last time you saw 2,000 or 1,000 or 500 people leave behind their homes, their jobs, their food, their supplies, their drinks, their conveniences, their cell phone chargers, and go and just follow somebody? I've seen pictures of the Sea of Galilee. I've never been able to see it myself, but I've seen pictures, and you can't see from one side to the other. I mean, it's a great distance. I mean, it's like looking out into an ocean. So for them to travel this distance, it's amazing. My wife and me can't go out to dinner, right, and come back without a diaper bag, the bag for the high chair, the stroller, the little baby carry-on. I mean, we pack like we're moving to go to dinner. Okay, so these people just wandered into the wilderness. I cannot imagine a woman taking her child out and following somebody without any thought to what she's going to feed him, what they're going to drink, what they're going to eat, how they're going to provide shelter, how they're going to get home. I can't imagine a man going on a trip where he didn't plot a route there and a route back and determine which the best way to get there and how he was going to avoid traffic when he was leaving, because this is how we do. But because of what Jesus was doing, they threw everything to the wayside and they followed him. Now, how does that apply to us today? Because clearly we're not Jesus, but we are representatives of Jesus, and that's where regeneration comes in. If you look at Titus 3:5, Titus 3:5 says, He saved us not because of righteous things we had done, but because of His mercy. He saved us through the washing of rebirth and renewal by the Holy Spirit. And because of that Holy Spirit, we have the same type of ability in us that the disciples had, and these men turned the world upside down. If you look over into John 20, when Jesus reappears, he reappears and he shows them the scars and the holes in his hands. So in 21 he says, "Peace be unto you, as the Father has sent me, I am sending you." And with that he breathed on the disciples and said, "Receive the Holy Spirit. If you forgive anyone's sins, their sins are forgiven. If you do not forgive them, they are not forgiven." Right? So he bestowed upon them, through the power of the Holy Spirit, the ability to do the works at which he had been doing. By the ability to forgive sin, we know that through that ability for the disciples to forgive sin, they were also able to heal. Right? Jesus said, which is easier, tell a man he's healed or tell him that his sins are forgiven? We are to be the representatives of Christ. We are to be the embodiment of Christ in the world, and we are to seek out people in need and show them his power. And there should be people that want to hear because of the things that we are doing and because of the things that we are demonstrating, because of the lifestyles that we are leading, because of the miracles that follow, because of the things that are happening. Not because we have coffee and donuts. Would your church members follow your pastor or your minister of music or your worship leader 10 miles, 5 miles, a mile? Would you yourself follow someone with no regards to food, care, or shelter to hear about Jesus or to work for Jesus? We complain about having to park too far away. I think we've missed regeneration. We've missed the old becoming new. We've missed the empowerment of the Holy Spirit. And we've missed, in that regeneration, being a representative of Christ. Thanks, guys. Have a great night.